Thank you guys for tuning in. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors for this episode. Our first sponsor is going to be Vitt Construction. Vitt Construction, Gus Vitt. Gus and I played high school baseball together. I've known Gus for a long time. Gus is doing some really great things in the custom home building and spec home building realm. He's done a lot of great things for some of my investors where I've connected him, and he has been able to take them from start to finish on products where these guys are now doing short-term rentals. He's really good with communication. He can do anything from remodels. Gus has probably 10 or 15 builds going on right now. He has a great team surrounding him. You can reach Gus at 417-952-7220. Again, I highly recommend Gus. He's been a great friend throughout the years, along with a great builder. I would choose Gus to personally build stuff for myself as well. My wife and I even thought about using Gus for our personal home before, I decided to, I'm going to general contract it myself. So I highly trust him. I'd be comfortable giving Gus my checkbook. He's a high integrity guy. He's got a great team around him, and they do some really high quality work in this area when it comes to custom and spec buildings. So if you're looking for a great general contractor, reach out to Vitt Construction. Thank you. So our next sponsor is the Multiply team. Really wanting to highlight here the leadership collective that the Multiply team has. Now, to go to this, if you're listening right now, what I would do is I would go to their website, and their website's going to be multiplyleadercollective.com. This is a great group of men and women that want to be passionate and transform their businesses and businesses around them. These are great phone calls, Zoom calls. There's lots of resources. I'm personally part of this collective, and there's great calls to jump on all throughout the month where it's, hey, for example, this Thursday at 6 p.m., we're going to have this great leader talking about setting goals for 2025. And for the price of this, basically a candy bar a day, you can jump on these calls. You can be a part of this team and have resources to bounce ideas off of. It's a really great community of men and women that you can transform the life of your business and businesses around you. I think community is huge, and I think this is something that does that. There's these great Multiply leadership collective events that you can be a part of as well, that they do a great job of. One of the biggest benefits I've seen is these Zoom calls that they consistently put on the calendar that I'm able to jump on. Hey, maybe I can't hit this one, but I can hit the next one next week, and it's going to be Henry Ho talking about how to transform your business and how to lead your business. And so this has been a great tool for me as a serial entrepreneur. I think it'd be a great tool for any businessmen or women if you're working on W-2, if you're 1099, if you're just wanting to be a transformative leader. It's a great community to be a part of, and I would encourage you highly to go to multiplyleadercollective.com, sign up for this. I think it's a community that has been of great value in my life, speaking off of personal experience, and I think it's well worth the cost. Thank you so much. Welcome to Northwest Arkansas Investing Podcast, episode 44. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. Brandon still is actually in the parking lot right now closing a deal. That's why he can't be in here with us. We got Brian Wagers with us.
What's up, guys? Only valid excuse, though.
Yes. Brandon is closing a deal, so we're going to let that slide. He'll be with us. He's actually going to come in here for the next episode, so tune in to episode 45. We want to talk today a little bit about a quick little segment on the rental market in Northwest Arkansas, kind of break it down area by area, all the way south in Fayetteville, all the way up north to Bella Vista, and just kind of go on what is your type of renter you're going to get in these markets, what price per square foot can you usually get on rent in these markets, and kind of extrapolate upon that information. A big question I get from these out-of-state people is like, what kind of renter am I getting in Fayetteville? What kind of renter am I getting in Centerton? What's my demographic going to be? Who's going to be renting this property? And then how much can I get in these certain areas? So we'll talk more on a macro scale. Let's just start off, Brian, in Fayetteville. What's your overall perception, and what's kind of going to be the rental market, do you think, in Fayetteville?
And before we jump into that, the reason we started thinking about this was someone messaged us on the IG account where it was NWA rental markets as it relates to Fayetteville, Rogers, Bentonville, in Bella Vista, and we're both like, yeah, we could easily rip on this. I think there's we have 15 minutes for this one. The NWA market dynamic is going to be a reoccurring theme on the NWA investing podcast.
Yes.
I think for 15 minutes, and for some people that are just now investing in NWA, I think it'd be important to start to like distinct. Okay, Walmart is based in Bentonville. We have the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. You have Tyson Chicken in Springdale. Then you go beyond that, you have J.B. Hunt, which is not that far because J.B. Hunt is still Fortune 500. That's in Lowell. Yeah. So closest to Rogers.
Was Simmons in Siloam?
So Simmons and Siloam, and then they just did the Gentry in the last couple of years. That was pretty big.
Then George's Chicken is out of Springdale, is what?
George's Springdale. Yeah.
Another huge company.
A lot of chicken.
A lot of chicken.
Springdale.
Yes.
There's a lot of opportunity because there's a big buyer of chicken right down the road.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not even their biggest customers are surprisingly not even down the road. So that gets into the whole vendorville. So Walmart, I guess I'll start back towards Benton County, which is north. Before you start going to Missouri, Northwest Arkansas is one line down from Bentonville at the top. You could say Bella Vista now at the top.
Yeah.
Fayetteville at the bottom. You could say, Farmington's pretty interesting. And,
Prairie Grove and Elkins hasn't entered the chat yet, but eventually.
And I personally invest and have invested in Fort Smith, which is an hour south of Fayetteville. But Fort Smith is not Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah.
So you would consider, we're cutting it right there. So Bentonville, you have Walmart's headquartered. 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, Walmart had an initiative to sell into Walmart. You had to have another office in Northwest Arkansas. So you have companies, I always give the example because I'm from Cincinnati originally, Procter & Gamble, it's headquartered in Cincinnati, but they have such a huge presence in Walmart, in the Walmart sphere, that their second office is huge in Bentonville. It's, thousands of employees that actually come here, stay here, do their Walmart tour, 3 years, and then they come to love living in Northwest Arkansas. They're like, oh, actually, it might be nice to live here too, not just work here. So they do their 3-year Walmart stint, then they stay here, then they might work for a vendor that is a supplier into this whole Walmart community. You have, it's dubbed Vendorville. So that started really in Bentonville and expanded from there. So that is the economy there. And then you have this interesting stuff in Rogers. Rogers doesn't have a big Fortune 500, but its literal next door neighbor, Lowell, houses the Hunt family. The Hunt family has invested a lot into the city of Rogers. So you're seeing Rogers, especially, Pinnacle area Rogers, getting a lot of cool new development. Even old Rogers, which we love to talk about, old Rogers, what's the word we ended up, gritty.
Downtown Rogers feels a little gritty. There's a lot of stuff happening in downtown Rogers too. I have 3 properties close to downtown Rogers. I'm building my personal primary 8 minutes away from downtown Rogers in the Prairie Creek area.
And you're coming from Fayetteville to Rogers, that's a bit like you're now going to be uprooting.
I've lived all over Northwest Arkansas, so I know pretty much each city and how I have at least a property in each city. I love downtown Rogers. I think it's cool. It's vibey. So there's different dynamics, and within the macro view, there's micro markets, and they're like the downtown Rogers and Pinnacle area. Pinnacle's a little more bougie. I think if we're giving an overall consensus, so the main vein, I-49, like you were talking about, runs north and south. And so at the top, I'll go over Benton County, you go over Washington. So Bella Vista, you're going to have, it's a large percentage of homeowners there. So the rental market is starting to churn up. I have people calling about it, but it's a lot more short-term rentals and people owning their houses rather than people renting up there. Now you're getting good rents, and you are fetching good rents in Bella Vista. And it's definitely over $1 per square foot per month on rent. And now what that means for you as a listener, if I have a 2,000 square foot home, I should be able to get over $2,000 a month. I should most likely be able to get more like 2,200, something like that. If I have a 1,500 square foot home, I should be able to get 1,700. That's usually the basis in Northwest Arkansas, is you should be able to get $1 per square foot per month on rent or better. It'd be kind of rare that you would get lower than that, especially in single family. If we're talking single family, now we can go subs of this even topic into like 50 units plus. And so basically I'm speaking to the fact of for like quadplexes and below.
Yeah, and multifamily, the highest per square footage, and those are a lot of numbers too. And definitely have to tap into your numbers, and it's really important, especially around here, the micro markets, and even Rogers, that there's a huge range, but the highest per square footage for multifamily is downtown Bentonville.
Yes.
And each Fayetteville, Springdale and Bentonville, they all have their own downtown squares. Mm-hmm. But the highest, the one that commands the highest is the downtown Bentonville.
Yes.
And that relates to single family too.
Oh, yeah.
You're seeing a lot of new, modern looking as homes like redeveloped or developed close to the square.
Oh yeah. And if we're talking Bella Vista demographics, you're probably going to get more so like a normal family is going to be living, and potentially even a little bit of Vendorville, like people that are vendors for Walmart, because they want to be close to mountain bikes. Bella Vista's huge on mountain bikes. They're like the mountain biking capital of the world.
Yeah, that 2,600 acres. So it's January 2024, 2,600 acre purchase by the Waltons just within the past few months. So that's going to be really interesting to see. Yeah. They haven't released all their plans, but they made the statement like, we care about green space. We love the mountain bike. It's going to be a mountain biking center.
Yeah. If you, the listener, want to go and see a little bit about that, just go to I believe it's bluecranellc.com. I remember looking on it, and it's very public about hey, we're doing something here. It's not super specific yet, but Bella Vista is getting something like that. So that's kind of a very macro view of Bella Vista. Mostly families, some vendors. Not a lot of you're not going to get college students that rent in Bella Vista. No. If we sneak down to Bentonville, let's just go Centerton, because Centerton is west of Bentonville. You're going to get a lot of families, people working at the Walmart headquarters that, most likely have your typical salary. So anywhere from 50 to 100 a year is probably going to, there's no attraction in Centerton.
Centerton is, it's a commuter spot, especially depending on what part of Centerton the Centerton-Bentonville border is really exciting. I'm also biased because I have a 376 unit apartment complex there that I'm a part owner of,
right, and
invested in. And it was amazing to share the numbers on that apartment complex with out of state and some of our more institutional investors, and it was over 3x income to rent ratio. It's close to 4x income to rent ratio. The credit score was outstanding.
Wow.
Zero bad debt for 376 render.
Very good quality.
When you're underwriting a deal, you should be accounting for 2 to 5% bad debt. No matter what you're dealing with. And it was just really interesting to see that. And for there was a lot of people working for Walmart. There was a couple people, it was right after COVID, so there was a couple people that didn't even have cars. They would just work from their apartment
That's crazy.
And oh man, doing the due diligence, there was this one guy, he almost had a better setup than I did. He had 4 laptops just, and you're just what's great as a landlord is, they're sticky. They're going to stay there. That person is not, they're getting settled, and they're going to be in there. I always remember walking the apartments, and when they have big furniture and heavy stuff, usually they're settling in.
Yeah.
And you see a lot more of that, I guess, in Benton County as a whole. But back to Centerton. Yeah. I think the Centerton-Bentonville border is really interesting. And that border, just like with everything here, the borders always keep pushing. Northwest Arkansas and these little sub-markets, it's going to keep going out. So Centerton, I think there's talks about them trying to do a square. The Mars family, shout out HGTV.
Yeah.
They have their little shop in Centerton, on one of those in Centerton somewhere too. So
Tawnytown kind of wanting to do a square too.
Tawnytown, yeah.
So I think Centerton, you kind of get the gist of Centerton. It's going to be families, people, commuters. Bentonville,
There's still farmland in Centerton.
If you look on a satellite map, there's a bunch of land, bunch of green space between basically Centerton and like the Highfield area. I'm a big advocator for that land in between there is just going to, if you did a timeline map from now to 10 years in the future, it's just going to be subdivisions through there. If we kind of scoot over to Bentonville, you're going to see, I'm just thinking of your typical renter in Bentonville is probably going to be a lot of apartment type people going downtown, paying $1,500 for a studio type place, or paying $2,500 for a 2-bed, 2-bath type thing. There's a lot of units around the downtown area.
Yep.
If we're just talking about downtown, if you go a little bit further from downtown, it's going to be high rents with, Walmart people. Is going to be big. I would say maybe it's going to be a high percentage of people that are owners. There's not like a ton of like single family renters closer to downtown Bentonville. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the reason for people leaving the apartment, one of the number one reasons was not because they were going to competition, but it was because they were going to go get into their first home.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those guys were renting to own.
Yeah.
Not the strategy of renting to own, but their current place is just short term until they can find that suite. And sometimes it takes, with how hot it is there, you have to, if you're moving here, you might have to rent for a year before you buy that house.
Right.
You see a lot of those people.
I think if we kind of move over to Rogers, there's two.
Before we go into Rogers, there is this whole other part of Bentonville that is out towards the air. I was just around there today, and there's this part out by the airport. It's past, and there's some parts of Centerton that are actually better than Bentonville because of how close they are to downtown Bentonville.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting to see that development go out towards.
It's very interesting when I'm looking up addresses. I'm like, I can't believe this is a Bentonville address. It's kind of shapes weird. So moving over to Rogers, I'll divide Rogers into two different parts for now. We'll kind of go downtown and then Pinnacle area. Pinnacle area is going to be more bougie. Downtown Rogers was identified as, the word I like is gritty. I don't know if that's not a great word. It's just
I haven't settled on gritty, but
or grungy.
Grungy, definitely not grungy.
Yeah, I think maybe my vocab's too limited, but downtown Rogers to me it feels like a cool vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I like downtown Rogers. It feels like I may run into a potentially more relatable person in downtown Rogers than Pinnacle area. I don't know. It's just there are two distinctly different vibes. And then if you go out further from downtown Rogers, you're going to get into the lake area. But downtown Rogers and around there, you're going to get probably not like a low income renter, but a lower than the Pinnacle area renter on income. Pinnacle areas, you can shoot on the interstate north and south. Rogers, downtown Rogers, you're going to get people probably a little lower on the income level, families as well. Brian, you want to take Springdale and Fayetteville?
Yeah. Springdale and Rogers is so interesting. I love investing in Rogers. I love being.
We could do an hour on Rogers.
Yeah. Springdale. So now we're going back to Tyson. What we were talking about, George's. You have a big chicken plant community, community of businesses.
Plenty of protein.
Plenty of protein. There is a higher Hispanic community in Springdale. You have the Parson Rodeo, which is there. They have this really cool project going downtown Emma. So everything right now is really about Emma and Springdale.
Yeah.
If you're looking at the square, what's really cool by Tyson, there's some really cool activity around there. But for me, what I'm looking at is, close to Emma. The Luther George Park that just got finished in Springdale is interesting. They got the same guy who did the Chicago Bean to develop, this outdoor pavilion for the Luther George Park.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, there's so many good things going on in Springdale. I wish I could tell you every single one. Blue Crane is also heavily involved down there. But that Springdale is actually where I first got started investing. 7 years ago, my first 12 unit was in Springdale. It was kind of East Springdale out towards the airport. I did a lot of investing out towards the Springdale Municipal Airport, which the Springdale Municipal Airport, say that 3 times fast, the Springdale Municipal Airport is the busiest airport between the executive airports, including the Bentonville one.
Wow.
So the Bentonville one, you would think Fayetteville with all the Walmart execs, or maybe Fayetteville, but you have a lot of people coming into Springdale. So split between Fayetteville and Bentonville. But I was doing a lot of investing there, and people, when I first got started investing in Springdale, were like, oh, you're investing in Springdale, like, be careful, be careful going out at night, like, it's like, no problem for me. I came from Cincinnati, but it was a really good investment. There's been a lot of investment into Springdale, and that same thing with all these cores. You have investments that spur in one area, but that keeps growing, like it keeps spreading to the rest of the submarket. So that's now happening in Springdale. So if you're an investor now in Springdale, looking up in 3, 5, 7, 10 years from now, you'll be really happy with how that Springdale development. I know you're still ton of upside there.
100% agree about Springdale market. And sorry, audience, we're pushing like an hour conversation, it feels, into 15 minutes so that we can get to our next segment. So if this feels fast, we're sorry. We're going to move to Fayetteville. Tell us about the Fayetteville market in general and demographic there.
I've been investing in Northwest Arkansas for, again, 7 to 8 years. I've invested in all the way in Centerton, and then an hour south of Fayetteville in Fort Smith.
Yeah.
But I've never invested in Fayetteville.
Okay.
So I think I've lived in Fayetteville when my first year in Arkansas was in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
Went out on Dixon Street, worked in Lowell, and I worked in Rogers. Fayetteville is centered around the University of Arkansas, which is now the 8th fastest growing. Last year was the 8th fastest growing college in this nation.
Yeah.
And
housing crisis there. I mean, in my spring times, every year I gear up for being like the busiest suburb, because that's the perfect time for investors to buy homes, to lease it out to these college students. I just rented my personal home out, and the one before that, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet, $3,300 a month. Like 8-minute drive from the university, not even on campus. And these kids you
do it as a college rental?
To college.
To college by bedroom or
by the bedroom. And I find 3 to 4 guys or 3 to 4 girls.
Parents co-sign?
All parents co-sign on it. I have conversations with all the parents, like verify income. It's like I do background checks on the kids, but like they don't have any income nor a background, really. I've never found anything on a kid. But I think a big talk for Fayetteville is the timing up your purchases in Fayetteville to align with the college students seeing things, because the data's there to show like, oh my gosh, I can get 2 times like rent per square foot in Fayetteville. But like if you don't time that up correctly, you're going to be buying in October and eating your payment till the springtime.
Yeah. So it depends. What kind of asset class is very important in Fayetteville. And like what I always made, even though I never had personally invested there, I lived there, but the vacancy, multifamily vacancy, it was like one of the low, besides Springdale and Fayetteville always had the lowest vacancy. Yes. And sometimes it's decreasing. Low, we're talking like 1%, like.
I tell people that and they're like, nah, you're lying to me. They think I'm a BS. I'm serious.
Like literally people are leasing it before the next person is moving out. Usually they're giving a month notice and you already have it backfilled right there. It's a couple of days.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was so interesting. But Fayetteville, depending on how, like, I remember this, it was a 5 News interview with a hotel owner, and then they did a restaurant owner, and they were just talking about how well the hogs play versus how, like, what their income looks like. And they said it affects it. When the hogs are doing really well, you have a lot of people coming, you have a lot of alumni coming back from Dallas or Denver or wherever they ended up moving, and they're coming back, they want to see, no hate, but you got a lot of bandwagon fans. But, that's with anything. Like, a team gets really good, people want to surround that. And that's a whole nother podcast, is the economic effect of having good sports teams. Even the guys who brought on Messi, they understood that. They paid. He already paid himself back for that. But so that was my only concern as an investor for Fayetteville is this seasonality of the university, just in theory, and that's summers kids are out.
Yeah.
I guess if you're in retail, it might be more concerning for the seasonality there. Hospitality definitely,
Yes,
because of how many people are coming.
Really football over baseball and basketball. I mean, baseball and basketball, great. It's really good and we see a little uptick. But if football's doing good, the town feels it. It's just the state comes around that, the university there. Now, we could do a whole other segment on Farmington, Prairie Grove. Farmington, Prairie Grove are cities west of Fayetteville, where Fayetteville's growing a lot. I think Elkins is a potential for the future as well. But that gives our audience that's listening a quick, should have been an hour, but it was 15 minutes conversation.
Yeah, and shout out for the question. You guys, shoot us a message. Right now we just have an Instagram, so that's a place to
follow us at NWA Investing Podcast here, and we'll answer questions. We'll put stuff up. Tune into next episode. We're going to be talking about sales as it compares to real estate agents in Northwest Arkansas,
and just an important life skill. For investing in Northwest Arkansas, for investing, for growing. So excited for that one too.
Oh yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Love you guys.
See ya.